But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. 1, 6, 3, 2, 1.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and those things are aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down and the backwards and the twisting off the cliff in a really bizarre human way. And if you want a little highlight of that, watch last night's show. I was a little fired up. I was a little pissed off about how people handle basically just the world around us. It's disgusting. But we're not going to do that tonight. I got it out of my system for a little bit. So we'll kick that down the road before I freak out again like that. Yes, I can't hear as Mike talking. Yes, everything should be fine. Everything should be fine. I think there's a tech issue there, Donna, over on Rockfin. Just go ahead and refresh. Okay. So again, yesterday I was a little bit out of sorts, right? Not really. I was more locked into the idea that the world can be a better place, and that's really what Troubled Minds has always been about, right? It's called a conspiracy show, and not only that, there's this weirdness that people tiptoe around the term conspiracy because it's been maligned. It's been It's been co-opted by the lefty-righty political spectrum, and all they do is spin conspiracy theories, but they're sanctioned conspiracy theories, right? And so, of course, they call each other conspiracy theorists, but the thing they do agree on, and I talk about this often, is they agree that we are the actual conspiracy theorists because we don't believe the BS they're selling, right? And that's the thing. So if conspiracies exist, and of course you're damn right they do. My grandfather would say, "You bet your bippy they do," right? He wouldn't say that's his term. He wouldn't say that about conspiracies. I don't want to malign a very fantastic man, but you know what I mean. Like it's this term has been used to malign us, to malign people that want to think freely, the people that want to speculate, all the rest of this, and it makes me mad. And part of that is why we get together and do this in this format because I could conspiracy theory theory myself to death in the corner, figuratively. Well, it doesn't do any good, does it? It kind of probably makes me a little paranoid and, all the rest. But when we get together and talk about this stuff, we maybe point out some things that we miss. And that's why we do this live, to include you. And conspiracy, and the reason I bring up the term conspiracy theories, because I don't know, people, they still fall for the propaganda that if you say this is a conspiracy show, that I'm some sort of terrible person, right? Or you guys, for being here or listening or being part of these conversations, that you guys are just terrible people. It's literally the dumbest human thing ever. It's like tribalism at its worst. It's like, oh, people that think differently than me, they must be dumb. Right? No, come on, stop with that madness. It's literally brainwash, division, politics. Stop. Anyway, I digress there, but you get the point, right? This is about conspiracy theory, and you bet your bippy there are conspiracies afoot. And how far and how deep do they go? That's the question, and it's definitely worthy of a discussion, and that's why we're here doing the thing we do. We are doing it live to include you, and if you want to be part of the show tonight, you can reach me and us at whoever else out there might be listening at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Phone number is on the stream if you're watching there. You can also find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Troubledminds.org. There you go. And yeah, so let's see. What do we got? I think that's good. So we are streaming. So I'm also watching the chat in all the places. So you can call and be part of the discussion tonight. We do it live to include you because that's really the whole idea of the show, is to have conversation with regular people. You don't have to be Linda Moulton Howe to be on this show. You don't have to be Richard Dolan. You don't have to be even these self-styled UFO gurus who swear that they know what's going on. Yeah, I'm not going to mention the names, right? You don't have to be any of those people. You just have to be you. Little old you. You're good enough to be on this show because guess what? You're an individual and you have an opinion too. How dare we? How dare we, right? All right, so we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch. I am watching the chat in all the places, trying to keep your thoughts incorporated into the show. This is a very interactive radio show, and you can, so just do the thing, and we'll read all the things, and yeah, there we go. We're also broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. The Fringe FM is digital radio. It's KTLKDB, and you can find that, of course, at the just Fringe FM website, fringe.fm. And the easiest way to help the Fringe, I would appreciate it if you do, is just go to the website and join the Discord there. Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free, and you can access the Fringe Discord at fringe.fm/chat. It will give you a direct invite to the Discord. And you could also, if you want to help further, and I would appreciate that you do, go to download the Fringe app. It's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Just download the app. You can find it at Android or the Apple app stores, completely free, and just smash play at 7 p.m. Pacific. You get us. You get Troubled Minds, you get me, you get these conversations. But the bonus you get with the Fringe app is you get all, there's a lot of stuff on demand on the Fringe app, which is pretty cool. There's you can not only get Troubled Minds, you get all the rest of the Fringe programming, which is fantastic. So there you go. All right. That's what's up. That's what we're doing, and that's why we're doing this. So, all right. So as many of you know, some of you know, we were talking last night and stayed up a little too late because I'm a knucklehead. But I went to the dentist today, right? And again, this is going to get us into this phase. Trust me on this. We're going to start with my dentist visit, and let me explain why. Right, I went to the dentist, and it's no big deal. They filled that tooth. I had a tiny little cavity. It's fine, right? But as usual, my type of luck when I go and do things like this, something always goes wrong, right? So something goes wrong. They messed something up, and it was no big deal. I ended up just waiting 2.5 times as long as I should have, and it was just whatever. It's never a comfortable time to go to the dentist, even if they're just cleaning your teeth and smacking you on the ass on the way out and saying, "Nice job, your teeth look good, bro." It's just not the best, right? It's not the best experience. But dentists are aliens. What's up, Craigs? I see you there. So the dentist thing, and here's why I'm starting with the dentist, right? So I'm sitting there in the chair and waiting because they're doing this, that, the other thing. They got to keep they're doing the enamel thing to fill the tooth. What I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a freaking dentist. Okay, hey, sue me. Don't sue me. But I'm not a dentist, so I don't know exactly what they're doing. It's a super weird experience. You got your mouth wide open, right, and they're like there's people staring into your mouth, and they're all got these tools and stuff. As you guys know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But the weird part that I recognized that I being just kind of with nothing to do, being aware and having a troubled mind, is that they blow air like on your teeth to keep them dry, right? And what was happening, of course, and this has happened to all you, I'm sure, as well, is that the mucus in my mouth was, and I know this is a little gross, so bear with me for just a sec. I am going somewhere with this. Was drying up, and so my mouth was becoming dry. And there's very few things that are as uncomfortable as having that dry mouth feeling, right? Meaning that you start to feel like you can't breathe, right? You're like begin kind of swallowing uncontrollably. It feels like you're suffocating. It's super strange, right? And so I'm sitting there, and my teeth are dry, and they're blowing air in there, and I'm like, right? You're not really choking, but you feel like you're choking, right? But anyway, it got me thinking. Okay, so how come we have like this sort of this mucus layer inside of our mouth, right? But not just our mouth. It's not the only place we have mucus, and I'm not gonna get into the human mucus mechanisms and gross everybody out. Okay, I've probably grossed out half of you already, but right in terms of how come, like just for instance, your mouth, if it even becomes partially dry, it's a very, very uncomfortable feeling, even to the point where you feel like you may be choking, suffocating, right? And it got me thinking. I'm like, so what is this mucus? I mean, is this alive? Is this part of the symbiosis of the organism? Obviously, like what is this, right? And of course, it led me down a rabbit hole, wouldn't you know? And we got this. Check this out. And as luck would have it, synchronicity shouted at me when I got home, and I found this. Wouldn't you believe it? We're going to start here with phys.org. Yeah, August 29th, 2022. Yeah, synchronicity, right? As I didn't even look this up until I got home, and this hit today. Headline is this: slime is all around and inside you. New research on its origins offers insight into genetic evolution. Slime. All right. And so I was like, wait, really? Like it's almost like I was in the chair. They're blowing air in my mouth, like drying my mouth up. I'm like gagging on nothing but myself. And I'm thinking exactly this, right? Like, what is this slime? Where does it come from? Is it, and then come home, and sure enough, today, of all days, is it actually 29th? No, this is 31st. This is actually from a couple days ago. So there we go. Maybe the syncs aren't exactly aligned. But anyway, check this out. Let's straight from the article. Slime is everywhere. It shapes the consistency of your bodily fluids, from the saliva in your mouth to the goo that covers your organs. It protects you against pathogens, including coronavirus, while creating a home in your mouth for billions of friendly bacteria. It helps slugs have Spider-Man sex hanging from walls. Yeah, straight from the article. It says that. Hagfish turn water into rapidly expanding goo. Lampreys filter their food, and swiftlets build nests. But while slime is essential for all forms of complex life, its evolutionary origins have remained murky. And this is written by an evolutionary geneticist who studies how humans and their genomes evolve, along with the colleagues of the individual. And the individual that wrote this is Omer Gokumin, I think is how you say it. So along with their colleagues, including a longtime collaborator, Steph Rule and Peter Pajic, they tackled this evolutionary puzzle with a recently published paper. And they began by looking into how salivary slime is made in different species. What they found was that slime opens a window into the role that repetitive DNA plays in the mysteries of evolution. All right. So this is what got me onto this. And I was like, all right, and shout out to Night Stalker if you're out there. He sent me an article a couple days ago. I'd actually already seen it, and I wasn't going to talk about it because it was basically making fun of the black goo conspiracies, right? And I don't necessarily believe the black goo conspiracies personally, but as you know, we consider the possibilities here. This is not this is not a declaration of truth. This is just throwing these ideas ideas out there as, well, a conspiracy says this. This is what some people say. Is it hogwash? Is it not? Let's think about it. Let's talk about it and sort of hit all the angles on why or why not, right? That type of stuff. And I call it drinking the maybe juice. And of course, that just boils back down to Aristotle and the bad paraphrase of, it is the mark of an educated mind to consider a thought without accepting it. That's drinking the maybe juice, okay? So, I don't know. So the questions tonight are this. So there's many here, because as we get into, let's see, the evolution of goo or slime, right? And how it literally is part of all life here on Earth, all complex life. They have this goo or this slime, not just saliva, but in your, surrounding your organs, and all kinds of just weird stuff. But then it gets even more spooky after that. So the question I have for you tonight: have you heard of the black goo conspiracies? Have you heard of this? Right? Any of them? Number two, what is with this slime? Do you think that it is just a byproduct of us? Let's say if you removed all of our slime, will we die? Probably, right? So is it part of us? Is it, dare I say, sentience? Is it, right? I mean, and this is the thing, like when we talk about sentience in terms of what things may be, you can look at panpsychism, and that whole thing says that everything is sentient. The chair, this microphone, my hat, everything is sentient in the entire universe, right? And so, it kind of blend up some of these philosophical concepts and maybe put it into like, I don't know, the biological slime. So the second question is, so what do you know about the black slime conspiracies, the black goo? Second, what do you know, or do you think it's possible that the evolutionary aspect of this is maybe, like we talked about the escape from the gut biome a couple of weeks ago, which was a fantastic show. Shout out to, again, Night Stalker out there for being part of that one. And we were like, it seemed like maybe there's something inside of us that's trying to get out. Well, this kind of tracks as well. So what do you think about the evolutionary aspect of, let's say, just slime or mucus or whatever this is? Do you think it's possible it could maybe become something else eventually, right? Maybe we're the vessels for the slime to escape into the world, right? And it just needs to find its footing. You know what I mean? In any case, so just a few questions to get us started. I got gonna point out some interesting things regarding this black goo stuff and whatever's going on, of course, because this is Troubled Minds. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Miss Vicky in California. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Well, hello. How are you? I'm doing very well. I only have a couple of things to say. I don't want to tie up the line. But I truly believe that these so-called aliens are not aliens. I think they're demons, because why else would they want to experiment with your DNA and biochemistry and having babies and all that crazy stuff you hear in the conspiracy theories? And then the black goo, I just saw a video. I can't remember what show I was watching, but it was about graphene oxide, I believe it is, and it's some kind of black goo that they can program, and they were moving it all around and breaking it apart and putting it back together, and it just was really scary to me to see those things. And that's really all I have to say. And of course, I love your show. I'm a new subscriber. I just found your show, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the phone call. First-time caller, Miss Vicky in California. Look forward to hearing from you more in the future. Thanks for being part of this.
Okay. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too. Have a great night. There you go. Hey, it's as simple as that. Fantastic stuff. First-time caller, Miss Vicky in California. I see her in the chat out there as well. And look, I don't know regarding this stuff. And she said that the buzzword. I'm not going to say that word a lot. I'm going to try and avoid that one tonight. The G word, the G-O, what she said, right? I don't want to say it because if we look, and here's why. If we say that term enough, I think we're going to get taken off of YouTube, right? This video will get taken down. So just what she said, it was cool. It was a very short thought, and it's okay. But I'm not going to talk about that, because if I continue to say that term, it's one of those terms that will get you taken down. It'll get you taken off of at least the video, censored or deleted or whatnot. I'll type it in the chat. It's the graphene, basically. The graphene, the O part after it. So anyway, the reason I'm talking about black goo not in those terms. So she was talking about like a technological goo, right? That's the idea between this. It was created sort of in a laboratory with people and individuals, and this is a sort of a hydrogel technology. You can look all that stuff up. I didn't include any of that stuff in the links that I got in the description, because we're looking at this from a different way, probably in a way that probably won't get us in trouble on YouTube, and that means back to this idea here. Now check this out. So the questions are, what do you know about this? What do you know about this this black slime, the black goo conspiracies? And again, like I said, these weird sort of syncs that you think of one thing, and then you go fire up the interwebs, and there's like an article within a couple days of exactly what we're talking about here. And so we're talking about mucins, right? The term is mucins. And here we go. So slime is made up of proteins called mucins, which are vessels for sugar molecules. These sugars are the key taskmasters in making things slimy. Unlike other proteins, which typically have intricate 3D shapes, mucins often take the shape of long, rigid rods. Sugar molecules are attached along the length of the rods, creating complex, brush-like structures. This partnership between protein building blocks and the sugars bound to them, repeated over and over, is essential to the properties of mucins. These structures can stick to other mucins and microbes, changing the physical properties of the fluids surrounding them into a sticky and slimy substance, okay? All right, so all of this, we'll go back to this article because it's got some pretty good stuff. They're talking about the evolution of what slime actually is. And so that's what got my mind thinking. Mucins, yeah, kind of like mucus. Yeah, kind of mucus, but it's like the technical scientific term for like the base molecule that makes up this mucus or the slime within us, right? Mucins. So the thing is, right, I was like, okay, so this paper in particular on phys.org, they're looking into how these mucins actually evolved into whatever this is, whatever this symbioticness of us needing these things to survive, right? And they do. What such a lovely subject. Yeah, right. Wait. It's going to get even worse than this. But we're not going to get gross. But it does get worse because, of course, right, when we're talking about this sentient black goo, what I mean by that is, let's say it starts innocuously in our mouths, around our organs, in sort of a gelatinous, let's say, semi-transparent form, right? Well, what if that's not the end of it? What if it wants to become something else eventually? And what if that idea of the evolution of mucins, or the slime within us, wants to become, like we said a ways back on that other show, the slime without us? And that's an interesting thing here. And if you've ever watched the X-Files, or I think is it Prometheus, I believe as well, there's a whole bunch of science fiction. And if you go to TV Tropes, I got that link down below where they're talking about the black goo and the black slime and this alien sentience and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. Like, is this, again, in the zeitgeist for some reason, or do you think there's actually something to it? And the other question, the final question here is, if you let mucins, or let's say whatever this slime is that's within us, go to its evolutionary end, what do you think that'll look like? And makes me wonder about the what the black goo actually could be. So there we go. That's what's on my mind tonight. Like I said, it all started with a dentist visit that not always goes well, but like I said, I'm not going to gross you out with some horrific details there, but it is important to maybe consider all the possibilities, and that's what we're doing here tonight, and doing it to include you. What do you know about black goo? What about this slime within us? Again, the mucus in our mouth, the mucins, the scientific term, molecularly speaking, and of course, the gel that's inside our body. We always talk about people being mostly water, but what about mucins? And what about this? And what do you think? Well, we'll get to black goo a little bit later on. So love to hear your thoughts on this as we begin. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More sentient black goo and the end of all evolution and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight we're talking about sentient black goo. Not really starting there. We're beginning with, let's say, just the slime, the mucins inside of us, the translucent something that makes us tick, that keeps us going, that whatever you want to call this. Some people have said the blob, some people have said, who knows what's actually happening here. But there's this study that just came out actually considering the evolutionary aspect of these mucins, this slime, and again, it's spawned with my dentist appointment today, which went swimmingly, aside from all my bad luck. But they were blowing the air in my mouth and kind of giving me that dry mouth feeling. I was like choking on nothing, right? It was like that, right? For no good reason, but it's just because there was not the proper amount of, let's say, mucus or whatever it was, whatever's in there in your mouth, right? It's almost like, like if you take the oil out of the car and run it, it's like crunch, 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 right? It's super weird. It's almost like, almost like this, we're like some fine-tuned machine here. But what do you think? So we're going to get to the black goo a little bit later as we go. And my theory here, the conspiracy, right, to kind of add this into the idea of sentient black goo. But real quick, let's do this. So from phys.org, slime is all around and inside you. New research on its origins offers insight into genetic evolution. And this they're looking into the idea of this slime that's part of humans and all complex life on Earth, okay? But then this other one popped, and this is from the same day, and this is from SciTech Daily. And this is pretty wild, because I was like, okay, so if this is the case, then let's try and predict. But here's the article. Yale's study suggests that evolution can be predicted. Uh-oh. Here we go. Evolution is long thought of as a relatively random process, with species features being formed by random mutations and environmental factors, and thus largely unpredictable. But an international team of scientists headed by researchers from Yale University and Columbia University discovered that a specific plant lineage independently developed three similar leaf types repeatedly in mountainous places scattered across the neotropics. The research revealed the first examples in plants of replicated radiation, which is the repeated development of similar forms in different regions. This discovery raises the possibility that evolution is not necessarily such a random process and can be anticipated. All right, so let's just put the two in a blender, troubled mind style. And we've got the evolutionary aspect of this slime that's in us, that's around us, that's part of us, that's part of every, let's say, complex life form on Earth. Okay, it's just like I said, it's like oil in a car. It's we have to have it to survive. And so let's put the two together and let's try and predict the evolutionary arc of organic slime. Why not? Hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Daryl in New York. What's up, Daryl? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Hi, Michael. I love this topic, and I love that you started it off at your dentist's. Once I was at the dentist recently, they were doing 7 crowns on my bottom teeth, and they didn't blow any water in my mouth for so long that I was so dry I thought I was going to die, and my lips blew up. I looked like I had gotten too much Botox. I don't know why. They were so dehydrated that I don't know why. All the water in my mouth blew the air into my lips or something. I never saw anything like it, and neither did the dentist. And I tend to fall asleep when I'm at the dentist, so I woke up like that. It was weird. Anyway, I'm just saying. The thing about okay, I was going to say a couple things. Like you could pick your friends and you could pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose, right? So
Well, you could try.
yeah.
You could try.
The thing is about this, like mucus and snot and like slime, and those things are actually protecting you from a lot of illnesses. And they say you shouldn't even snotty nosed kids are developing their immune system, so you shouldn't even like try to wipe their noses. Let them just be snotty because it's really good to protect them against infections. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what am I?
and that's actually part of why it's sort of evolved with us or evolved as part of us, because it is sort of a block. It's like a shield, like a mucus shield from all kinds of pathogens. And it's fascinating that this is, again, like I said, you remove the oil from the car, and in this case we're talking slime and mucus and mucins, the scientific term here. But if you remove it from the person, right, maybe you instantly just get filled up with pathogens and diseases, and like who knows what that would look like without it. So you could argue that without these mucins and this sort of like complex sugar molecule that's causing this sort of block, that we may not exist at all. So that's a fascinating take. But what else you got, my friend?
Well, actually, I was deaf in one of my ears and I was sick like for a few days. Just recently, I told you, right? I mean, I was really sick. I had a head cold, and I was deaf. I was so deaf. I'm like, what the heck is going on with my head? I didn't have like a chest problem, but today I sneezed out a blood clot the size of Cleveland. Well, no, it was about it was big. Let me put it that way. And it was so sticky and so disgusting, but it was like all of a sudden I can hear. And I'm thinking, how did that come out of me? Like, oh my God, did that come out of my brain? Where the hell was that? Like, how did I get a blood clot like that? It was like black and it was
Okay,
really.
Daryl, let's issue
But I'm
the
just saying,
details here. You're grossing us out. Come on now.
I'm
Good
trying to
God.
make it something. But I'm just telling you this. So that was, I don't know if that protected me from something. Was that you know, like, I think it's a defense mechanism. And there's a lot of things about, slime and mold that are very, like, interesting. Like mold, for example. Mold is, like, almost intelligent. Like, have you ever studied mold or anything? Because it's crazy, like what mold can do. It can morph, it can shapeshift. Like, how did it get here too? How did mold get here? And also, like, snails use like slime to travel. Imagine if you could get travel slime miles. Like, I don't know. But,
Damn it, Daryl. Why? Okay, so here's my take, right? And I'm going to march us down this path tonight. So regarding the mucins and this idea of this slime that's within us, it's in our mouths, it's in our noses, it's in our body, it's surrounding our organs, it's all of that, right? And it's in every complex life form on Earth. All right, there's that. So is this sort of also possibly, what would you say? Mutating or becoming something else inside of us, like sort of like we are the host, and the mucins themselves are, like we were talking about the gut biome, maybe looking for a way to get out. What do you think that's possible somewhere down the line, down the evolutionary ladder of things? So I don't know, 1,000,000 years from now, 2,000,000 years from now.
We keep reproducing this stuff. It's like it's just one of those, like, substances that our body creates. We create, the thing that gets in your eyes, the Sandman. We have this, like, crust in our eyes, and we can create all kinds of slime, and there's some kind of a purpose for it when you want to have intimate relationship with somebody. Like, a woman can get a little slimy.
You are very quiet, to let you know. I've got you like
sorry.
You're okay. All right, that's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. But yeah,
I'm sorry.
I get you. Go ahead.
We make a lot of stuff. We make a lot of liquid. We make a lot of solid. We make slime. I mean, the human body is just unbelievable. I mean, we sweat. We have oily skin. I mean, we're just like a manufacturer of substances that are just so bizarre. I mean, we're constantly trying to groom ourselves so they don't show. But can you imagine if we just let it all hang out? I mean, what would become? funky. But
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's like what kept us healthy, in the past. Maybe that'll come back in style, and we'll all get our health back. I don't know.
It's okay to walk around slimy. It used to make fun of the slimy kid, and now the slimy kid is like the new model of sexual. He's here we go. We got it, Daryl. We got our joke. He's oozing sexuality now.
Oh, right. That good greasy hair, that oily skin. Oh God, I'm so.
It's so hot.
That's hot. That's hot. But, I think it has a purpose, and there's good stuff and bad stuff, but what all right, I'm not going to get into the Morgellons thing, but there's something sticky about Morgellons. There's something sticky about the black goo. There is a correlation. I can't remember what it was exactly, but yeah, Harold Velikatz. Everybody should watch his video about black goo and sentient beings and Morgellons, because it's got a lot of information that's so interesting, and it shows you what black goo looks like. He has 2 cans of it, and they're actually trying to morph together. So they look like little sleeping monkeys. It's just crazy. But he makes an essential oil that was supposed to be really good for healing parasites, something like that. But it was expensive, and they made it out of the black goo. So I don't know. There's a lot of mysteries about the black goo, and I love the subject, and I can't wait to hear the rest of the callers.
Right on. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the phone call, Daryl. Thanks for listening, and always a pleasure. Daryl here in New York, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. She's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description down below. She sings in English and French. She's got the channel regarding there's Morgellon stuff on there. There's some paranormal stuff, all kinds of things, and you can also find her singing karaoke on the Troubled Minds Discord at least once a week anymore. And come hang out, come meet Daryl. She's fantastic. Go to troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and come say hi. Appreciate it, Daryl. Thanks for the call. And so back to this idea, right? So we're going to merge the 2 ideas, and this is what's happening. So first I thought, okay, we got this slime is all around and inside you, right? And they're researching the origins into the genetic evolution of these mucins, right? But the interesting part of this is back to this phys.org article. Despite the remarkable properties mucins have and their essential role in biology, how they evolved has eluded scientists. To begin the future out of the evolutionary origins of mucins, this group here began looking for common genetic ancestors for mucins across 49 mammal species. After all, evolution often tinkers but rarely invents, they say. The easiest way for a new gene to evolve is by copying and pasting an existing one and making sure changes to the new copy to fit the environmental circumstances. The chances of one species independently inventing a complex mucin from scratch are astronomically small. Our research team was sure that copying and pasting existing mucin genes that then adapt to a particular species' needs was the main driver of mucin evolution. So they're saying that it's been in life forms forever, and we're basically just copying and pasting this in the, let's say, genetic line of things. All right. So then, so let's do this. Let's go to the next one. And Yale suggests that evolution can be predicted. So let's predict the evolution of slime, of mucins, of whatever this happens to be. But before we do that, what are your predictions regarding this? Do you think this is going to be, like, as we know, right, these mucins, the mucus or this slime that exists within us, and everybody has it, so don't act too cool for school like, oh, I don't have any mucins. What are you talking about, Mike? The hell you don't. But let's predict what this may look like, the evolution of the actual mucins, I don't know, let's say a million years from now or 10 million years from now. Let's say humans don't blow themselves up from now till then. But do you think that maybe this could evolve into some sort of super shield, right? We know that it actually kind of blocks out pathogens now and even viruses and things like this. Of course, not perfectly, because of course then we'd never be sick, but it definitely does a pretty good job of it for what it is. So maybe in the future that this turns into something a little more robust, let's say. And I'm hoping so. But does that mean we're going to be like, I don't know, have like goo all over us all the time, like snails, right? Something like this. Maybe that's the future of human evolution. Maybe it's not. But I don't know. So what are your thoughts on this so far? What do you know about the black slime, the black goo conspiracies? And what's happening with this? Is this just, damn it, Michael, you've gone off the rails again tonight, which is fine because we live off the rails. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Shout out to Drake over there on Rockfin. That's 702-957-1037. 3037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Now, here's the crazy part, right? So all of this sort of snapped into focus in the dentist chair today. I was like, weird, right? I already told you that story, so I'm not going to repeat it. But then we have this. This is from Wired.com, and this is from August 24th. And wouldn't you believe it? Wouldn't you believe it? The headline is this. This is absolutely wild. The biggest threat to humanity? Black goo. What? Black goo. Yeah. Here we go. Seen most recently in sci-fi shows like Westworld and Severance, the sinister substance also exists in the real world, where it may control us all. Dun, dun, dun. What's up, Rufus? This channel should have hundreds of views. WTF. Amen, brother. Amen, brother. We were demonetized the very first month we started years ago on YouTube, and been sort of algorithm throttled, if you know what I mean. But hey, that's what it is. We're gonna keep on trucking, and because word of mouth beats algorithms all day, every day. But anyway, here we go. So now this is exactly getting into that graphene stuff, right? And this is parody. They're not talking about this as reality. They're making fun of these conspiracies, okay, is what they're talking about. But I thought it was pretty fascinating that this came out again, August 24th, not that long ago. And it's literally from Wired, which again is, roll your eyes, a conspiracy theorist, because, most media anymore is conspiracy theory media. But yeah, I digress a little bit there. So here we go. The biggest threat to humanity is black goo. Like, what is this, right? And so there's a lot of ways to look at this. And so we do have the goo inside of us. We have the goo in our mouths. We have the goo in our guts. We have the goo everywhere. The goo is everywhere, right? But it got me thinking in those terms of what the evolution of that goo may look like long term. And is it going to be more robust, like I described, blocking pathogens and things like this from getting into our body? Are we going to become more and more slimy, like maybe Daryl discussed there? And we're going to start oozing sexuality, if you know what I mean? Or right, whatever's going on with this, I don't know. But you start looking into some of this, and check this out. As you would expect, there's a lot that kind of fits into this, not just in modern times, but in ancient times. Check this out. This is from the BritishMuseum.org. And we got ancient Egyptian coffins and the mystery of black goo. All right? The mystery of black goo. So what exactly is this? Several ancient Egyptian coffins and mummy cases have been found covered in a mysterious black goo. And this is from May of 2020. Dr. Kate Fulcher, a research assistant at the museum's Department of Scientific Research, explores what is this goo made from, and why it may have been used, and what it can reveal about Egyptian funerary practice. All right. So this gets strange. Because let's read just a little bit of this to give you an idea of what's going on here. So we've got this pharaoh, right? I can't say it. It's a very long name. You can read the article. Links in the description. This ancient Egyptian person lived and died almost 3,000 years ago in Egypt. We don't know a lot about this person's life, but we do know he was a priest in the temple of Amun at Karnak. Here he had two main roles. One was the opener of the doors of heaven, which meant he was one of the priests who was entitled to open the doors of the shrine in the temple sanctuary containing the cult image of the god, right? Okay. After this individual died, he was mummified, wrapped in fine linen, and sewn in his plaster and linen mummy case. This case was beautifully painted in bright colors and gilded with gold leaf over the face. At the time of his funeral, he was lowered into his coffin and carried to his tomb. Then, several liters of warm black goo were poured all over the mummy case, covering it completely, effectively cementing the case into the coffin. The lid was then placed on the coffin, and he was left to journey forth to the underworld. And this isn't the only case. I was looking into this, and they got some other weirdness with this black goo situation going on in some of these funerary rites of old, and not just Egypt, it's in other places as well. And so I was like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe, yeah, tar. It could be tar. There's actually I'll talk about what this actually is, because this is an older version, again, May of 2020, and it was mysterious. They didn't know what this black goo was. And it could be tar, right? It's some sort of resin or tar concoction. We'll get to exactly what it was. I found this study later where they did the tests on it, and we found out what it is. What's up, Ninja with a pencil? It's venom. It's venom, right? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. So anyway, so what are your thoughts here? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Crystal Shaman. Are you there?
Hey, Michael. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Okay.
What do you know? Welcome back, by the way. And what do you know about black goo?
Well, I kind of researched it a while back. It's been a while, though. I watched all the Harold Cotsvella information, and I mean, I saw a lot of information. There was I'm trying to remember where the spot was. There was a certain battle that was done, and it's the story was it was they were actually fighting over the black goo that was there. So I don't know, Michael. Does it exist? I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of conspiracy surrounding this, and I'm not sure what to believe. Some of it's sci-fi, some of it's X-Files, some of it's like pop culture stuff, right? But then there's that sort of trope, that TV trope that we talk about. But then there's some of these other things when you look at the black goo, and it might be some sort of resin that was dropped into these ancient burials with Egypt and whatnot. And we're going to get to some other stuff, and I'll explain why I think maybe at least to throw out as an idea of maybe the evolution of these mucins and this sort of slime within us may actually be evolving into this black goo stuff. What else you got? What are your other thoughts on this?
Well, a friend of mine, another YouTube channel, Typical Skeptic, he's actually researching on, Max Spears and that whole situation, because it was said that was the story that about Max Spears, that when he died, it was said that black goo was coming out of his body, like out of his mouth and stuff. So I'm not going to go into the gross details of it, but that's the story. Once again, is it true? We don't know. Unfortunately, it would be nice if we did know the truth about some of the things that go on. Is it propaganda or is it actual truth?
Yeah, or more clickbait, people spinning tall tales. I think that's the thing that gets me the most, is just the people straight up just making stuff up that throw it out there, and they're like, whatever, to each their own. But that's why I try not to really cover the super ridiculous stuff where I'm like, come on, we need at least a shred of evidence to like be able to talk about this, not just some guy's tall tale somewhere.
Like Daryl said, Harold Cotsvella did. I have seen the vials but it's just video. And, we all know videos can be manufactured, but I've never had any, as far as Harold Cotsvella goes, I've always kind of felt like he was legit, authentic. So I've never thought for a moment about him in particular that he was manufacturing things,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I don't like to call individuals liars anyway. It's just a basis, right? You got to kind of filter it through yourself, the stuff you talk about, the stuff you think about. It's just part of being human, totally. We got about 30 seconds left for you. What else you got, my friend?
Oh, that's about it. Sorry, I just keep coughing in everybody's ear, but it's the thing. So I will go ahead and get off of here now and let someone else have the mic.
Appreciate it very much. Crystal Shaman, good friend of mine and good friend of the show. Glad to have you back. I hope you feel better very soon, and always a pleasure. Have a fantastic night.
All right, thanks. You too.
Thanks a lot. There you go. We're talking about a sentient black goo. What does this mean, right? And so we haven't even got to the sentient part yet. That's like X-Files stuff, like the black oil oozing out of the eyes and possessing people. What the hell's going on with this? Is this a satanic conspiracy, or is this just some nonsense? I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More sentient black goo and the end of all evolution. And of course, your calls when we return. We got Jennifer in Missouri on the line, and you as well. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Neck of the woods. You are listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Troubled Minds. Join us as we discuss an upside-down world that nobody seems to notice.
We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in their brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things, you may wonder? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss the conspiracy of black goo. We've seen it on X-Files, we've seen it on Westworld, we've seen it in other, let's say, TV tropes, but is there some, let's say, basis in truth regarding this black goo? And I was a little surprised. I started digging, and we got these things called mucins in our body. Like I said, it's this just slime that's within us that, you know, like it starts within our mouth. If we don't have like the perfect amount of moisture in our mouth, we start choking, or I mean, it's crazy. And it started with my trip to the dentist today. Like I said, my bad luck meant I stayed a little longer than I had to. And, you know, it's not the most comfortable thing going to the dentist ever, really. But it was fine. It was fine. But they had that thing where they're blowing your teeth or drying your teeth off, and your mouth is drying up, and you're like gasping for air, even though they're blowing air in your mouth. It's the craziest thing. But it was the moisture. It was the lack of moisture that makes you like, la, 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 in that sort of gaggy sort of situation. And it got me thinking, like, wait a minute. So what is this? Like, it's almost like if we're not finely tuned with the perfect level of, I don't know, it's called mucin, right? But some call it mucus in the mouth, and of course, right, there's different terms depending on different parts of the body that have this stuff. But it got me thinking in terms of the evolution of this mucin. And mucin is the actual scientific term, and there's a paper that literally just came out a couple days ago, and they're looking into slime, this mucin, and how it evolved alongside not just people and with people, but in all of the basic biological things on Earth. Like everything, every major life form on Earth has this mucin in it somewhere, right? And many of us are just chock full of it. And so, I don't know, it got me thinking in terms of, okay, so I wonder if anybody's ever done an evolutionary study on this. And sure as hell, I come home, check it out, and a couple days ago, August 29th of 2022, today's the 31st, that there's a study. They just released it. And wouldn't you know that they don't have a lot of answers. And because, of course, well, what's really going on? So it got me thinking in terms of a lot of things. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So we're talking about not just these mucins, but maybe the evolutionary aspect of what they might become 1 million, 10 million years from now, because this is Troubled Minds drinking the maybe juice. And in this case, it's not black oil. It's just maybe juice. But have you heard of the sentient black goo? We're going to get to that in a little bit. And there's some other pretty terrifying stories that go along with this that make you scratch your head and wonder what the hell's going on. For instance, have you ever heard that people out there on the road see like maybe this black ooze crawling across the street, right? And it seems to vanish, right? It seems to, and there's that, that mirage bit. People say it's a mirage out there on the road. I don't know. Like, what do you believe? Do you believe people have all seen mirages before on the road? But if they say it was moving and kind of crawling, I don't know. I again, like I said, I hate to call people liars, but what do you believe regarding this? So the questions tonight: where do you think the evolutionary end of mucin goes? All right, this sort of slime that's everywhere within us. Where does this go? All right. 2, have you ever heard of this sentient black goo conspiracy? We're going to get to that in a little bit as well, and some other more terrifying stories. And of course, well, what is this about? Is this real or is this not? And love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. We're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM and taking your calls. And let's do it. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. If you're there, test 1, 2. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Hey, Mike. Do I have sound?
You are good. Everything sounds fine. And go right ahead. What do you know about this black goo? A little bit strange, right?
Yes. It makes me think about, people had mentioned the petroleum thing. And there's been some talk about that maybe petroleum doesn't have to be formed by like the decomposed organisms of ancient past. That's not necessary to make petroleum. And first, and then the other aspect of it that, like in the human body, we're inhaling all these microplastics that are everywhere, and there's a way to transform microplastics back into like a crude oil state. And I was thinking about the origins too. If petroleum isn't formed, or crude oil doesn't have to be, or methane even, natural gas or crude oil, if it doesn't have to be formed through this organic material, then there's a theory called, I think it's like a biogenic petroleum. And I haven't read much about it. I was just looking at it because I was trying to figure out if there's another way for it to take up this black goo form. And they were talking about this idea that on like the moons of Saturn, like Titan, and out in space, that they have these deposits. They're like in these craters that they drilled out in 2005 on that were like 3 billion year old, deposits of this type of gas that they were detecting. It's the same possible deposits of gas of methane that we have coming out of the Earth itself. And if you think about the formation of the Earth, like billions and billions of years ago, I guess it's like almost 5 billion years ago, or 4.6 billion, something like that. If at the formation of the Earth, you have this deposit coming in from outer space in a way, and then it develops these types of what we're using right now to make plastics and everything else. But then it can also take on the form of like a natural gas, which is completely invisible and undetectable, basically. And if somehow too, like you have these comets coming through that are like depositing these certain types of gases that can later be like distilled by the earth or by our own bodies in some way that might make something like this black goo that could have some type of sentience from like billions of years ago. It does seem like it could follow something like that, because I mean, I've heard a little bit about the black goo theory, but trying to understand how it could become something of an issue for people or become something that's inside of them, it could be through the inhalation of these microplastics, or it could be that there's like a flyby of a comet. It's like Halley's Comet, for example, that when it came through, it deposited a great deal of these types of strange gases and stuff. So I wonder if it could come out and play out that way somehow. And through the distillation of the human body, through the mucuses of like, you know, perspiration, or just the way that your body kind of tries to purify itself, if they could somehow begin to manifest themselves by taking over the organism in a way through this something that we're being maybe even prepped for with the microplastics to become, I don't know, almost like it becomes coalescent or something. And then somehow it could gain some type of sentience. And it could also be something that could, maybe if it's sentient, it could transform itself into a type of invisible gas as well, almost like a spirit. But perhaps it's not. But even if you follow the idea that it's from organic material, the decomposition of organic materials deep inside the earth, if they don't have a sentience of their own somehow anyhow, and if they were to enter the body through microplastics in this weird unnatural way by inhalation, and then somehow were to be able to transform back into this liquid state or something, like if being put into that state of plastic makes it inert, but if it becomes somehow by the atmosphere or something happening in the environment that transforms it back into the kind of the more, you know, mucusy type goo state, I wonder if there is something about somehow, because your mucuses, they travel over the brain in between the way that your body's immune system works. It's like there's like a mucus that flows through your entire body with through the plasma shield and all this different stuff inside your body, but it moves over the brain, and the brain senses what has been detected by that mucus that's going over the brain through the blood-brain barrier, and it decides what it's going to do on an immunological, level. And I wonder if there's something like that, if it could pick it up throughout the body and then return the message through that between the skull and the brain as it brushes over it, if it could transmute information and could somehow cause some type of weird, effect. I don't know. It's kind of
like it would be,
because there's not a.
It would be like I said, like the oil in a car, right? Like it does the thing. It flows through. It keeps everything lubricated just right. But what if you add that second level of things to it? Meaning, just like you described, maybe there's a communication aspect as well, and it's not just the neurons and the gut biome and link to the mind and all the rest of this stuff. The neurons in both places. But what if there's a secondary, or even let's say multiple ways the body's communicating with itself, and it's a little bit more creepy than we think in terms of these mucins or this mucus or whatever you want to call it, that it might be, dare I say, sentient, right? And that becomes the thing here. That becomes the point of, discussion. Fantastic idea there. What else you got? Go right ahead.
No, that's it. I was just calling it like that. Yeah, I mean, if you think about the deep space thing, you have the formation of the earth, and you have these, they're trapped under the ground in a way, and that oil is some kind of distillation of these ancient gases, and they're coming up, the kind of the residue is the petroleum, the crude oil that we use and we make our plastics into, but we're inhaling these microplastics. If they are, however, they are broken down, but then see the gases themselves, if they mix with something that were to come through a comet or through some other type of means and be inhaled into the body and mingle together and then absorbed into your mucous membrane and then goes through the body as the immune system does, and then brushes over the brain and the skull, and the brain perceives and takes all the information in, then it responds to it. And I think it would be, I don't know, it might the mucus take over an organism or something like that. I don't know. It's all alien weird theory, but great show and really cool topic.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the phone call. And Jennifer here, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. Great take as always. She's got a YouTube channel. She's got a TikTok channel. She's got a Twitter account. Please give her a follow. Links in the description down below. It says follow Jennifer here. She's got a link tree, and you can follow on all the places. Please do. She's been putting out some pretty amazing content over there. And go check it out. If you're not checking out Jennifer's channel, I don't know what you're doing, because it's totally free, and the links in the description. We've done all the work for you, right? Links provided. She's putting out amazing content, and you haven't followed yet. It's not our fault. It's not her fault. This is your fault if you haven't followed Jennifer yet. Links in the description. Thanks for the phone call, Jen. Always amazing stuff. And so look, let's add another wrinkle to this, all right? And the idea of like she was saying, like maybe the microplastics and maybe breaking down with the mucins in the body could possibly evolve or emerge into something else, this emergent something. And this is what we're talking about, the idea of this, the regular mucus or mucins in the body that all complex life forms have on Earth, or maybe this is a sentient communication system within the body itself. And if you do, let's say, taint it with microplastics like she described, maybe it becomes something else. And that's the question tonight. Like, is this mucin, the evolution where we started with this? We started with me in the dentist chair. And then we went to this, which was the phys.org, slime is all around and inside you. New research on its origins offers insight into genetic evolution. But this is the first study I've seen on this, and it is a sort of a novel idea of them kind of digging into this, but no conclusions yet. They don't exactly know. All right. But then we have this next one. Yale study suggested evolution can be predicted. So let's try and predict what, let's say, mucins or goo or whatever within us, well, maybe, let's say, evolve without us. And then, of course, then we have this other weird, back to the synchromysticism here, this bizarre-ass article from Wired.com that says this: the biggest threat to humanity, black goo. What? What? Okay. I mean, and I know they're making fun of like the conspiracy theory itself, but let's throw this wrinkle into it before we go to James. There's this thing, maybe you've heard of it. It's called La Mancha Negra. You ever heard of this? Look at this, straight from Wikipedia. La Mancha Negra, or the black stain, is a mysterious black substance that is oozed from roads in Caracas, Venezuela, first appearing in 1986. Since the appearance of La Mancha Negra, it has caused multiple car accidents and claimed many lives. Determining the cause of the substance has proven difficult, and there are still no definitive explanations. Almost 2 decades of study and millions of dollars spent identifying it. Yeah, this is real. Look, like I said, this creepy, crawly, maybe oil stain looking thing crawling across the road, right? And you think you're seeing something, and then it's not there anymore? Yeah, it's a mirage, Mike. You're tripping. You're dreaming. Oh, yeah? La Mancha Negra. This is a thing, right? And look it up yourself. Links in the description. There's a whole bunch of, there's pictures of this. It's horrifying, and the thing's growing. In January 1996, the roads became slick with the substance once more due to the lack of maintenance, low rainfall, poor conditions of vehicles in Caracas. Special cleaning equipment was brought in from Germany, and the phenomenon seemed to have abated for several years thereafter. However, La Mancha Negra reappeared in 2001 on several roads in Caracas, including Baralt, Nueva Granada, Fuerzas Armadas, Sucre, and anyway, I'm not going to read all the places. But yeah, it's just tar. Is it just tar? Just an illusion? Says Bootsy. Well, again, they look into La Mancha Negra. Look into it, and then you tell me that's just tar and it's an illusion. And I'm just saying, right? It's easy to label one thing, but then there's all these other things. So we'll get to the funerary stuff after the bottom of the hour here, but we got more important things to do because a good friend of mine is on the phone. 702-957-1037. We're talking about sentient black goo. Is this part of an evolutionary trait of these mucins or the mucus sort of system of all biological life on Earth, or at least complex biological life, or is this just some hocus pocus BS conspiracy theory? You know how Jimmy Church goes, Gobekli Tepe. Well, I'm going to say La Mancha Negra. Anyway, let's go to James in Michigan. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. How are you? What's going on, my man?
I'm okay. This has been a great topic. And the sightings that you mentioned of these dark slimes or just things that people see, I've heard of that. And some people have it, when you read these stories, they don't know how to describe it, and I'm just wondering if some of these are some kind of a slime, but they also seem to be, in some cases, again, drawn towards electricity, drawn towards, in small scales, like outlets in homes, or in larger scales, people see these things that are either moving across the ground or in some cases floating, going back to the idea that maybe if they're lightweight enough, or if they can change their makeup or their shape or their density or whatever, they could be floating through areas almost like a gas or a vapor. They've been seen. There have been things that have been seen that are just these dark blobs or blurs or masses that are attracted to power lines.
Which is in line with that idea of orbs, right? We were talking about black orbs a while back on your show and kind of in the after chat, and it popped up for a minute. And do you think it's the same thing, sort of in this paranormal thing, where maybe it's not like we believe it as a, let's say, physical thing, but possibly something else here? Are we stepping into the paranormal, James?
It could be a mix. I used to think of them as, when people described it, maybe it was some kind of a black light, or just a visual thing. But maybe it is some kind of something like that. That's not quite solid, not quite a spirit. Just we don't really know what they are. And if you think about that, the first thing I was thinking of tonight is how slime. If you look into enough video games and RPGs and stuff, that's like one of the most common lower level enemies in a lot of games. A lot of your fantasy sci-fi and or sci-fi games is a slime.
That's true. That's true. And even slimes, interestingly, are sort of partial sentience or partial intelligence. It's like they're kind of walking that line, blurring the line. They got this thing, speaking of that, and they have you know me, I'm the Dungeons and Dragons guy. They've got this thing called a gelatinous cube in Dungeons and Dragons, and it starts as like this little jelly that just kind of like roams the dungeon and picks up dead bodies, right? Picks up a dead rat type of thing. But as it sort of consumes these organic materials, and of course adventurers and let's say like kobolds or goblins that die in the dungeon, right? And again, this is all fantasy. Everybody relax. But the gelatinous cube grows larger and larger and larger as it actually starts to consume organic material, right? And it's always hungry and it's always searching for its next meal, but it can last for thousands of years and grow to be the entire size of the cavern itself, or even larger than that, given a big enough food source. But interesting, you're right. There's like this green slime, this sort of a partial sentient thing that everybody, as a first level adventure, you're just whooping that green slime ass or whatever in the video game, right?
A lot of cases, even if it's not called slime, if you look at the image of it, I mean, it looks kind of, it's just a blob of some kind or whatever. Yeah. So I just found that really amazing that again, those connections to popular culture and it appearing and everything. But that came up more recently, because what I was thinking of at first, and I can make this fairly quick, is that if we have this some kind of that, like you were describing, within us, where does that go when a person passes away? Where does it come from when a person is created? And I wonder if there's something to that. I wonder if there's a consciousness or spiritual aspect to it as well as a physical. And it just kind of moves through us all and throughout time. And I wonder if even if the conditions on the world will change, what if it's always there in one form or another?
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw you mention in the chat something about ectoplasm too. Was that you?
It was, although that turned out not to be what I was thinking of. That's more to do with a specific aspect of spiritualism and more of like something from the past. It's more to do with like mediums than it is to do with actual spirits generating the substance on their own, as far as I could tell.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like a Slimer from Ghostbusters. He slimed me.
That's funny because that's something that comes from fiction, and you don't know, and then they never really describe it because it's just for a movie. They don't go into what is it? What is Slimer? How was it formed? Was it a person? Was it a pet? We don't know, and that just makes you wonder if there's things like that out there in the real world, maybe even different colors.
Amen, brother.
Maybe even these dark blur.
Amen. Fantastic stuff as always.
Sorry.
No, you're good. James here, a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the phone call. You guys know him as the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, James Salcedo of Salcedo Paranormal. He's got a podcast. Links down in the description below. Sorry to cut you off there, my friend. Please give him a follow. He's got a TikTok. He's got a YouTube. He's got a Linktree. It's all down there. Please give James a follow. He's a good dude. He does good work, and he's a good friend of mine. Thanks for being part of this. Look, we're still talking about sentient black goo, the end of all evolution. I don't know. We're going to get to La Mancha Negra when we come back, and some more of this. Well, what about ectoplasm? What about the idea of sentient slime? Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight we're taking your phone calls as we discuss the black ooze, the black oil. Yeah, La Mancha Negra. We're going to get to that in a second and round that out. But what's going on? This sentient black goo. We've all heard of, again, Venom, Spider-Man, and we've heard of this stuff. But what about the idea that maybe this black goo is evolving out of us through these what are they called? They are called, mucins, M-U-C-I-N-S. It's the scientific term for the sugar molecules that really make up the mucus and this slime that's within us. Got some great ideas from some great people tonight, but love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Is this possible? Is this not? Is it somewhere in between? I don't know. Again, this is just drinking the maybe juice talk, and there's a lot of this sort of in the zeitgeist, including this sentient black goo as some sort of demonic conspiracy where, if you watch the X-Files and sort of play with that game a little bit, it's in the X-Files, the black oil is some sort of alien entity that once it gets inside of you, it will possess you, and it's how it actually is, mobile and will move around and become part of the world. Is it infects people, and then they become sort of this. Controlled, possessed, what have you, right? But then it got me thinking in terms, like I said, I was sitting in the dentist chair and they kept blowing the air in my mouth and I kept choking on myself because I didn't have just the proper level of moisture, right? That if things get thrown off in our bodily systems, it makes me wonder what the hell's going on with this. And is this the regulation of this mucin or the mucous membranes and all the rest of all this in our bodies, not just our bodies, every complex life form on Earth, that maybe there's something more to this than we think. And I don't know, maybe the end of evolution is sentient black goo. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Had some great stuff tonight. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to APOC in Oklahoma. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? And go right ahead.
Hey, I'm glad you brought up getting weird because I'm about to get weird.
Let's get weird. Let's do it. What do you got?
Okay.
What do you know? And first, do you know any sentient black goo? Have you ever slapped high five with some of this stuff? Or I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I have a little bottle of black goo in my garage that came from Russia, from the Russian mountains. So, sort of.
Nice. Okay. Sort of. All right. Then you probably know way more about this than I do. Go right ahead. Let's get weird.
Nope, I don't. But if I were to write a story about black goo, it would start at the beginning of the universe. So what if, and we don't really know, what happened at the beginning, technically. So what if the singularity or the first cause or the whatever had to initially have some sort of form And what if that form was this black goo that stretched out into infinity and embedded itself within and constructed all of matter? And it is, it could potentially be like the first cause of consciousness, and that would explain the sentience. That would explain the fascination in the zeitgeist about it. And what if we actually evolved from this goo rather than glue? Huh? It could be the glue of the universe.
The cosmic glue, like the
cosmic glue, right?
Yeah, I don't want to take it out of your mouth because I know about where you're headed with this, but I'm going to shut up and let you get there. I know where you're headed. Go ahead. Perfect.
So what if we evolved from that goo and we are sort of the conscious expression of that goo? How's that?
I
could
it.
go different ways.
No, perfect. No, perfect. And so not only that, notice, so if that's the case and we're talking about it in terms of the universe, or sort of, let's say, cosmic black goo. So let's just leave the Earth entirely. Let's forget it. We're right. Off into space. We're past the galaxy into somewhere else, right? But what they tell us is that most of the mass in the universe is, well, it's dark matter. It's dark energy, right? It's this sort of like opposite of what we are, of what we understand as mass actually being. And so in terms of, let's say, the evolution of what black goo may be, maybe it's not evolving out of us. I like your thought here. Maybe we evolved from it, and it is everywhere. It is pervasive. All. Let's say I don't want to fall short of being super weird and saying it's the all-knowing black goo floating in the ether. I don't know about that, but right, if we have sort of the universe covered in this stuff that they can't really measure specifically or quantify, we still don't know what the hell it is. Well, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. So there's more. When James got on, I was thinking, because I was already there at that point, and James got on, and I'm like, oh man, because I wonder if this black goo, if it was sort of the beginning of all things, could also have gradient densities and gradient frequencies and all that. And so if so, we have this phenomena called the shadow people that people see, and it became famous on Art Bell when one person called in. Everybody started calling in, oh my God, I've seen one of those things, you know. And so we have these like shadow people, and then we have what I think I remember James also mentioning, or the like black orbs, the kind of gooey orbs. I actually have seen, I've seen like two types of orbs, and one was like a whitish kind of thing, and the other was like a black kind of gooey looking orbs. And James and I had a conversation about this once, and he said he may come back on and tell you about this, but he said that a lot of times he hears about those like going into electrical circuits or going towards electrical circuits or something like that. But we have all these weird phenomena that, as you've been reading off, has this sort of different, maybe sentient type expression of the black goo. So maybe that's part of it, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say. I did love how he was sort of bringing it into the paranormal orb sort of world a little bit. And then maybe even, like, he didn't specifically say it, I dragged it out of him, but like the idea of ectoplasm. And, you know, ectoplasm has been debunked a long time ago and all the rest of that. And it was part of that spiritualism movement, late 1800s, all that stuff, right? But still, right, doesn't necessarily mean that this idea of dark energy as maybe ectoplasm or some sort of a sentient, let's say the sentience of the universe itself. I mean, it like all this is why we talk about this, because is it possible that some misunderstandings have been had in the past regarding what's around us? And that's drinking the maybe juice and firing off the ideas, which is fantastic. So okay. On the cosmic scale, maybe. So I asked the question here: sentient black goo is at the end of all evolution, meaning, and I'll get to what I mean by that. Back to the burial rite, the funerary rites in Egypt and in South America as well, and what happens to those corpses? By the way, spoiler alert: they actually, when left in a state of non-preservation, they return to a black goo. So, right?
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
Right. I'll get to that in a
wow.
sec. There's articles there to backing this up. I'll get to that in just a sec. But right. So that's why I was like, okay, so wait. So if we come from black goo, or let's say not. That wasn't my thought. What if the end is this evolutionary cycle of eventually trying to turn us into black goo? Right. That's what I thought. But then you brought it cosmically back to the beginning. And what if instead we are all part of this and it's trying to make black goo of the universe? Who knows? Who knows? Pretty wild stuff.
And what if it's all of the above? What if, it fluctuates and we do go back into that black goo?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, I don't know. That becomes the questions. And this is the question show, not the answer show. So if you're out there listening and you're like, what is this guy always on about? It's just ideas. Chill out. Relax. We're just talking about ideas. It's not illegal. It's still not illegal to think yet. Fantastic stuff as always. APOC, what else you got?
I think that's mostly it. I thought it was a fascinating idea, that, maybe it is part of sort of the component of the first cause of all that exists, or it could be, something like it anyway. So it would sort of work out, because if it's in the zeitgeist and if it's been, we were talking about it in chat the other night, and apparently it's been this ongoing thing in the zeitgeist, and sort of this fascination about the black goo. And then when the nanotechnology started to happen, there was this gray goo fear that everything would turn into gray goo once the nanobots learned or were taught how to self-replicate, and they needed materials, so they were going to eat up everything, and everything was going to turn into gray goo. That's interesting to connect to the black goo as well. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thought.
Yeah, all kind of. We're full of interesting thoughts over here. I appreciate it. Thanks for the phone call. Thanks for listening. APOC here, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. She has a podcast called Apocalypse Tau. Check it out. Links in the description down below. She's been active doing some stuff, not just there on the podcast, but also on YouTube, also on TikTok. And go check that out. She's doing some AI art over on TikTok that is fire. And if you're not following Apocalypse Tau, links in the description. What are you doing? Free content, amazing stuff from great thinkers. What are you doing? All those links down there of all those amazing people. Please get on it. Get on it. What are you doing? Fantastic call, APOC. Thank you. So let's bridge this gap real fast, and then we'll get to Matt. So here's the thing, right? So I went to this. This is from the British Museum, Ancient Egyptian Coffins and the Mystery of Black Goo. We talked about this, how they sort of enveloped the actual mummy in this black goo resin type stuff, right? Well, an interesting thing that I found when I was kind of doing this tonight, it kind of got into Sheol and some other stuff that was like, what the hell, right? But check this out. This is from Gizmodo, and this is back in 2015. Wouldn't you know it? Headline is, the world's oldest mummies are suddenly turning into black goo. Having survived 8,000 years, the Chinchorro mummies found in modern-day Chile and Peru have started decaying more quickly than ever before, in some cases even melting into gelatinous black ooze. Scientists at Harvard think they found the reason why. They say the oldest man-made these mummies, the oldest man-made in the world, originated with the Chinchorro people, who preserved their dead by filling the bodies with fiber and straw. Unlike the Egyptians, the Chinchorro mummified all of their dead, hundreds of these mummies still buried in the Chilean valleys, while they are often uncovered by construction. The decaying problem began with the mummies that should have been kept safe inside. Curators noticed the decay accelerating over the past decade, so they decided to bring in a Harvard scientist who determined that the cause was bacteria. But the mummies had survived thousands of years already. Why did bacteria suddenly take a liking to them now, right? So there you go. That's what I'm saying. So if we have this mummification process, sort of this maybe black ooze then and a black ooze situation now, the black goo, that got me thinking in terms of, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're talking about sentient black goo or not. Or again, is this just a hogwash conspiracy? Get off it, Michael Strange. That's all okay. Now, that's the thing, right? I think people don't realize I've got a sense of humor about all this. Let's consider it, but let's laugh at ourselves if we're wrong and move on and punch again another day. It's all good. Let's go to a new friend here. What's up? He was with us on Discord last night, hanging out late through the night. Boost, Matt in, I think, where are you at, Matt? Where are you calling from? Just the country's fine. How are you?
I'm calling from New Zealand.
Yes.
How are you, mate?
I'm doing good. Welcome. Matt from New Zealand. You're on Troubled Minds. What are your thoughts on black goo? What is this? Have we gone too far this time?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I believe they might be sentient, but I don't know if they're goo. So, I've had some experience in my adolescence with sleep paralysis and shadow people, and like, can these goo can they form in a shape of a being, and if so, like, how is that how they move around in this world? Is that how they interact with people? Because my experience from, like, I don't know, shadow people and what APOC was saying is that they are sentient and they do have their own mind, and from what I understand is that goo is translucent, and with shadow people they kind of merge into their surroundings, and you can kind of see through them. So I don't know if they're related, but yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I do dig the shadow people aspect of this, and sort of kind of bouncing this into the paranormal world a little bit. But I mean, it seems to be in two places at once, right? Some people describe this as, like, again, this La Mancha Negra thing, where they have, like, they still can't explain this, millions of dollars into this, no definitive explanations, but it's killing people. It's actually like gobbling up cars, and like it's in where is this? In Venezuela. So I mean, this is a thing. But is it the thing? I mean, is it sewage? Is it this? Is it that? The other? But it got me thinking in terms of all of this, the idea that, well, if you think of the second law of thermodynamics, and we were talking about this not too long ago on the show, entropy is disorder, right? The universe begins in order and then proceeds toward disorder. What if the disorder, they say that the very end of things is when that entropy is so far apart from every living system that it's just pure blackness. Nothing is close enough to see anything else because it's so damn far away. So what if the end of entropy in the second law of thermodynamics is ubiquitous black goo? What do you think about that?
Well, like, yeah. Well, if you think about thermodynamics and what you're just talking about, then if we've got things like grey matter, why isn't it called black matter? Why isn't this space goo?
That's that's what APOC was saying, the dark energy, dark matter type of stuff, right? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Like the building blocks of the of everything, the universe.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Yeah. Take it to the cosmic level. I love it. What else you got? What else you got for us, my friend?
Yeah, that's kind of it. APOC kind of stole my light. That's all right.
That's okay. Wait, so before you go then, so what do you know about shadow people then? Let's make this connection. So you've seen shadow people? You've had these experiences?
Yeah, so I have actually gone through a few psychiatrists and psychology lessons, because this has been a time when I wasn't awake, you could say, and I was about 12 years old, innocent, and I just remember about maybe 3 or 4 times in a year, every year, there'll just be like these, I call them visits, and I don't know, my mum used to call them like the boogeyman, but there was only ever one until I was with this in a toxic relationship. I'm not going to go into it, but anyway, there was 3, and one was wearing a hat. But then that's when I dug deeper and then found out you got the Hat Man, you've got Shadow People, then you've got the Djinn, and so the Djinn are like, they're kind of like the fallen angels of and they're like they excrete like a shadowy smoke off their body. But yeah, that's kind of, I haven't really gotten into it much now that I'm kind of awoken to this type of life, but I probably should, because it's really interesting and maybe there is a connection and I'd like to know more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, like I said, you know me. You've listened to us for a while now. This is not answers. I don't know. We're just kicking out ideas, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Because I think obviously and clearly, if you pay attention, you know something's not right. So there's something. I think there are forces out there. I don't want to say manipulating us, but let's say definitely influencing us. And we don't know anything about it. I definitely feel it, and I think it's part of this zeitgeist talk we always have. Part of this division rhetoric in politics. Part of this people hating each other as like the default mechanism, and it's getting worse. It's whether you want to call that Archons or something else. It's ugly. It's an ugly thing. Yeah, whatever, exactly. Like whatever this is, I think it's possible there's something actually influencing us for sure. What it is, I couldn't begin to define it, which is why we always talk in sort of these abstract terms almost every night, because we're just trying to come up with ideas is all. Fantastic stuff as always. Where did you find this show? I don't think I ever got to ask you.
I've been listening to a few. I went to the Triad Minds, which was all about consciousness, and then I went to meditation and all that, and then I went to spirituality, and then I went to conspiracies. Yeah.
But hold on though. So this is not, conspiracies are one thing. This is, we call this a conspiracy show.
It's truthing.
It's not. No. I mean, I don't even know about truthing. I guess the thing is, I don't like labels, right? In those terms, it's like, let's just talk about ideas, because ideas are without labels. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, like, this is what I was talking to one of my mates about this, and like I said to him, I hate the word conspiracy theories, because it's like people put such a bad like a pronoun or noun on it. It's just like, I'd like to be called something else, because I want to know the truth, but then I don't want to be called, I don't know, philosophy doesn't sound like the right word for it, but then I don't want to get mislabeled. But I just think there's too much stuff you can relate it to, because it's just life and knowledge and the power to know more, the absolute.
Yeah. Hey, call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Like I said, I have taken the mantle of conspiracy theorist because I think it's been a punching bag, and I think it's intentionally misrepresented, because it only takes two people to have a conspiracy, and conspiracies are everywhere, right? But does that mean, and I've said this before, that everything is a conspiracy? Of course not, because that's absurd. But it does mean conspiracies are everywhere, and if we're not allowed to talk about that, then it's censorship, right? We should be able to speculate on this stuff, and that's what we're doing here. Amazing stuff. I'm glad you found us, man. You definitely sound like you're in the right place here, and it's always a pleasure to have you on. Fantastic to have you on Discord last night, hanging out with us, and you're always welcome, okay? Appreciate it very much.
Cheers.
Thanks for the call. There you go. New friend, Matt in New Zealand. Hey, just like Daryl said, we need a Matt in every country. We've got, like Ronald said over on Rockfin, we got more mats than a yoga studio, and that's all right. That's amazing. Fantastic stuff. And I don't know. Again, there's so many mats, and that's cool. Look, I don't know. And as you know me, none of this is any sort of declaration of truth, right? And please remember that. Just because you heard me say it once and consider the concept does not mean it's any resemblance to any truth, right? You find your own truth, like I always say, right? It's my reality is mine, your reality is yours. Let's keep it that way, but let's get together and talk about it, because maybe we're not all that different. All right, maybe we're not all that different, and that's just the way things. So we're winding down here. I appreciate all the amazing phone calls as always. You guys are incredible, and just blowing up brains every single night. And well, as we get to the end of this, like I said, there's no conclusions for me. I don't know about sentient black goo. Is it real? Is it not? Is it a cosmic thing? Is it an Earth thing? Is it? What is it? I don't even know. We're going to keep thinking about this, but I do know that it's bubbled up in the zeitgeist and in the news cycles. So I thought, why not? I think we should probably talk about this. And so here we are, talking about it, right? Not saying this is the truth or the devil's out to get you or anything, right? None of that. I don't know. If you know, love to have you on the show. All right, so as we finish, if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. And then, of course, the Jess Rogie Show after that. 6 hours of live radio on the Fringe FM. Troubled Minds. And we got Lighting the Void. We got Jess Rogie. Hey, you can't beat it. Why are you doing anything else? All right. And as we finish, it goes like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. A little bit of bonus time. We got extra time for you, so hang tight if you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed. Have a fantastic one, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep on trucking for a little bit. Like I said, we're calling this bonus time. So I didn't like the situation where, like I said, felt like punching a time clock, trying to drag it out to like the literal 3-hour mark. So now we're just doing what we call bonus time, right? If we got one more caller or whatever, we'll do a little bit extra, some of the stuff that we maybe left dangling and didn't get to during the show. So that's what this is, just a little bit of bonus time. We're not going to go a full third hour. We're done with that, unless, of course, the conversation dictates it, and I have the time. It's got to start with the time that I have. Okay, so we'll start there, and then that's where trying to give me some of my time back. Number one, to do other things, to market the show and grow and the rest of this stuff and get other work done. But then two, it just makes it flexible, and I do like flexibility in terms of being able to get new ideas from new people and of course old friends as well. And that's what this has always been about. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of bonus time. James says he's got some stuff to maybe fill in some gaps on the shadow people theories. We're going to get to James in just a second, but we're looking to hear from you as well. We do have time for you if you got time for us, if you want to be part of the show. Got some bonus time. No promises on how long we go, but 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Going to take a quick 2-minute break, and that's what I'm missing too. So I'm sort of breathless when we get into this third bit. So we'll just do like a quick break. It'll be less than 2 minutes. Just let me step away, stretch my legs, grab another cold one, and we'll keep on trucking. Okay, so going to play some music here. We'll be right back with James Salcido of Salcido Paranormal, who is, of course, the you guys already know, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. So there it is. Again, don't call him an expert because he gets mad, but I'll do it, and I'll deal with the consequences. We'll be back with James. We'll be back with James in just a sec. More Troubled Minds on the way. A 1-ish minute break, and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. right, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Troubled Minds. We're going to do the thing. We're still talking about this. We got some extra time for you. Look, I don't know. We're talking about this black goo stuff. And, La Mancha Negra, we're talking about APOC brought up the idea of maybe this cosmic black goo. They kind of chipped in the idea of dark energy or dark matter. Maybe the end result of, me sitting in the dentist chair isn't like black goo evolving out of my bowels, right? Because that sounds horrific. But let's say we are the descendants of black goo, and maybe we all go back to black goo at the end. It's impossible to say. I don't know. I have no damn idea, and that's why we talk about this stuff, because why the hell not? I don't know. I don't even know. So if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Got some bonus time at Troubled Minds. Yeah, that's gross. Yeah, I know. Let's go. let's go. James has deferred. Let's go to Jen in Missouri. Jen, you're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. How are you?
Hey, doing okay. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. Go right ahead. What else you
Okay.
got regarding black goo?
Well, okay, I've had a major hankering to talk about black body theory and all of that stuff. And when you think about this idea of the black goo and that it could be a black body, I think it's worthy to bring it up. People have been bringing up the shadow people thing. At the same time, I think that it can tie into the black goo idea, and with the shadow people and black holes, what it could have to do with, and black body theory. So I want to talk about that just real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, there's a mechanism called Crookes rotary. It was designed by this scientist way back in the day, and what he discovered was, and what it is, if you look it up, Crookes, I think it looks like a water mill or something, or a windmill. And what it is looks like a windmill, and one side of each of the fans, he colored black. And it was put underneath a glass vase, kind of like a light bulb. And he recognized that in the sunlight, it would spin. No breeze, because it was obviously underneath a bulb of glass. And the mechanism behind how it was operating was that in the light coming from the light source, the sun, it was because the waves coming from the sun, the different spectrums of light, visible and invisible, are absorbed into the black side of the fan blade. And there's a weight to the light. That weight causes this fan to spin. And if you think about the universe itself and how it's cloaked in shadow, shadow is heavy because it's absorbing certain spectrums of light that aren't absorbed by lighter, by any other source. It has to be this black. And people have asked why the sky is black. Well, the sky is black. It's black when it looks blue even. The blue is just from we all know about that. The sky, even during the daytime, is actually black. The sky is always black. There's this strange phenomenon going on where the weight, as proven by the Crookes photomill, that this color absorbs all the light spectrums. And that's the idea behind black body theorem when you come to a black hole and what's considered a perfect black body object. And a black hole absorbs all light, all color spectrum, visible and invisible, as in infrared, just gamma rays, all the different light spectrums that you cannot see, that our eyes cannot perceive, even though they think in ancient times people may have had infrared vision even. Anyway, so you have these perfect black bodies absorbing all these different light spectrums, and it has a consistent, a weight, a volume to it. And that's what's a black hole is a perfect black body. It absorbs every bit of it. Really strange about a black hole is that eventually, once it's absorbed all of this light spectrum, it begins to get hot. It can get up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit and beyond. As it does that, it begins to emit a light of its own, ironically. And it looks like a red type of, it appears to them to be red. But then it begins to fractal out into many other shades. There's some theories out there that our whole Earth and our universe is being lit by the light of a black hole. And every object is absorbing different spectrums and is operating as a black body, but onto a lesser degree. It's not a perfect black body as a black hole would be. It has to do with the density of the object, and the density of the object is just what it's composed of, and it's what gives you the color. When you see different objects and it goes through the lens of the eye, you start to see different colors around you, and it starts to bounce off certain types of density and volume, and that's what we can make out objects. When you think about shadow people, the idea that people are seeing these darker than dark shadows, then what you're seeing, and they feel a certain presence, a weight, it's because it's absorbing whatever is around them. If they are black body objects to some extent, they are absorbing the light or anything emitting off of you into them because they can't help it. It's a perfect black body in a way, or similar to it. And if you think about the black goo itself, if black goo is a thing, if it is in black body theorem absorbing perfectly, then this black goo is absorbing perfectly and it's transmuting it eventually at some point into something else. And I just wanted to throw that in there because I think it does matter when we think about the shadow theory, like shadow theory, to try to talk about this too. And I think it ties together in a way. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah,
I think
fantastic.
there could be something to it.
Yeah, it could be. I've never heard the theory there myself, but it's definitely something to look into and maybe dig deeper. I think this is amazing. This is, Jen knows. This is why we do this, because we're sharing ideas. We're teaching each other concepts, and concepts, I tell you, are one of the most powerful things ever. Amazing stuff as always, Jen. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for dipping back in, and thanks for adding that to the conversation. You're the best.
Yeah, I want to hear everything else. Great show.
Right on. Thank you so much, and great call. Thank you very much. Again, Jen's got a YouTube channel and, of course, a TikTok and, of course, Twitter. Give her a follow. Links in the description down below. So she tied all of that back to, well, we're talking now black holes. We're talking the idea of shadow people. And speaking of shadow people, let's just go straight back to the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, and I'll deal with the consequences of calling James an expert because I'm an ornery guy. Let's do it. Let's go to James in Michigan. James Salcedo, you're on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? Thanks for being patient.
Damn it, Mike. No, I'm just kidding.
But you're good.
Great call from Jen. I've always wondered about, because I never really looked into the possible science of it all. I always wondered about connections between so-called paranormal, whatever they are, sightings, and then all this dark matter and energy that is supposed to be out there throughout the universe. I thought that seemed like it was really odd. But also going back to the whole shadow people thing, that's not the only thing. Shadow people and then shadow-like blobs or blurs are not the only things out there that people have seen. Sometimes it's other animal-ish shaped sightings. Whether it's things like cats or even mice or spiders, just different things. So I wonder about that. What does that mean for those things in relation to that whole theory? And then sometimes people claim different things about the way these things look. Sometimes they're black. I mean, they're all shadow. They're all dark, but sometimes they seem to be opaque where you can't see through them. Other times you can somewhat kind of see through them because they're more like a mist, but it's still darkness. It's still something that's dark that you can see against even other darkness, but it's different. So there's different kinds of things. And as I always say, I don't know what any of this is, but I think it's important to point out and that there are all different kinds of sightings that fall within this whole shadow sighting or really, that's, I guess, the best way to put that, because how else are you going to classify any of that? But and then you have, again, like I brought up earlier, these blurs that are seen moving towards either electrical sources and or natural electrical sources, such as like plants, like trees, heading towards. And I think that has come before talking with APOC as well. These lights and or darkness have been seen gathering near the tops of trees. So these things, just similar to regular orbs, these shadows are seen all around. In homes, outside of homes, in the air, on the ground. They're all over the place. Just if you look into stories of paranormal experiences.
Yeah, and this, I think the interesting part about this is we're tiptoeing into the shadow realm a little bit, right? And then we're tiptoeing into like the cosmic realm with like again dark matter, dark energy, but then also, right, we got this sort of paranormal and physical connection between all of these things because, again, back to the second law of thermodynamics and entropy and all the rest of this stuff. It seems like when the end of order becoming disorder ends up in like an organic pile of black goo rot, right? I mean, it's bizarre. It's bizarre how some of these things from the different realms sort of merge. The ideas merge. It's super bizarre, super bizarre. And we talked about this a long time ago, James. But can you refresh my memory, if you recall, regarding the different colors of orbs and why the black orb is particularly different?
Well, I think the main thing we kind of came to a conclusion about is that different people have different ideas of what these things are. So there really is no definite way. I think the popular culture would have us believe that anything dark like that is negative. But if you look at all the stories, that doesn't always track. Like so much of this, that's not all negative. But so I don't know. I do think that people get different senses, different vibes from these things. Sometimes the witness doesn't feel anything. Sometimes it's a negative. Sometimes it's more of a positive. Like they're there, whatever this is, it's there to comfort someone. So, yeah, and I just wonder how far back in time this goes, going back to more towards the kind of the show topic. What if everything did start off as this mass of dark, maybe not even solid substance, but this goo or this substance that can be in different forms or even different states of energy, can take in different energy, can give off different energy, kind of going back to what Jen was talking about there. And if this has always been there and it's always there until the end of time, is it just a matter of it all separating and then going back together again over and over and over?
Yeah, it could be. And I think that's why, again, instead of going deep, and somebody said this a ways back, we go wide, instead of like, everybody's like the deep dive into the thing. Well, maybe it's not about deep dives. Maybe it's about considering more possibilities and lumping in the different realms into one idea. And here we are. You already know. I don't got to sell it to you. Fantastic stuff as always, James. Anything else regarding, I don't know, maybe dark matter or any of the rest of this regarding the black goo stuff? How about this? Do you think that the black goo may be evolving to like climb out of our gut, like the gut bacteria, like gut biota we were talking about? Or do you think that's a step too far? Damn it. Now you've done it, Mike.
I don't know about that. I do. I just really feel like maybe all this is what we've all kind of talked about tonight is getting closer. I mean, obviously not solving anything, not answers, but it does feel like if you put all this together, it makes sense in different ways. It really does. The cosmic with the paranormal, with the scientific, with all these things all being connected and maybe just different variables or variants of the same things. And I'm really glad that I really enjoyed the show. So thank you for having me on a second time tonight. And I see Derek there as well. So thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Pleasure's ours, James. You were the best. James here, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, the paranormal expert of troubled minds, and the glue. If anybody's the glue of this show, it's James Salcedo. Check it out. Please give him a follow. He's got a podcast. He's got a YouTube. He's got a TikTok. He's got all the things. Link tree in the description. Follow James, or I don't even know you anymore. You got it? Drawing the line in the sand right here. If you're not following James, You're making me super mad. I appreciate it, James. You're the best, brother. Doing a thing. We're hanging out and talking about this black goo stuff. Now, when we started tonight, I called out Derek, the Night Stalker, Derek in Massachusetts, because he sent me this article. I had seen this actually, just not to defer entirely here, but I had seen this article from I saw it pop up in my news feed. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not fucking doing this, because here's why, right? This is from wired.com, and they're making fun of these ideas, right? The biggest threat to humanity, black goo. And it goes into the graphene and the rest of the stuff, which I didn't want to talk about tonight, because for specific reasons, if you get a little deep into this, they will take you off YouTube. So you got to be very careful with how you approach this. And so I thought, you know what, look, there's a different way to approach this. Let's talk about black goo, not as a joke or not as sort of a technology, but what about in evolution of things? And maybe that second law of thermodynamics takes us to that point. Or maybe it started with me in the dentist chair today, and I really was in the dentist chair today, them blowing air in my mouth and having like no fluid in there because they dried it all out, and I'm like gasping for air, right? They're blowing air in my mouth, but I'm gasping for air because my mouth is dry, right? And so it got me thinking in terms of this idea of this whole rabbit hole of, good God, what about like sort of the oil within us, this process of what's it called? I keep mucus. What's it called? Mucins. This is a scientific term. And wouldn't you know, as a synchronicity would have it, August 29th, they did a study on mucins. I'm just filling Derek in because he just woke up real quick and he can pop on, giving him a second to shake the Sandman out of his eyes. But new research in its origins offers insight into the genetic evolution of the mucin, or basically it's like it's sugar molecules, but it's saliva, it's all the goo within the body, right, that covers all the organs against pathogens and all the rest of this. But then I saw this other article that says Yale study suggests that evolution can be predicted, evolution itself. So I was like, all right, well, let's take this mucin, right, and the first study of this, or one of the first novel studies of this, and then let's blend it together with this other idea of let's extrapolate maybe the evolution of the goo inside of us, and maybe the laws of thermodynamics turn this into, I don't know, black goo spewing out of our throats like we're in some sort of a horror movie. I don't know. And then ranging far and wide all over the place. In any case, 702-957-1037. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. Everybody loves the Night Stalker. What's up, bro? Good morning.
Oh, man.
You're on Troubled Minds.
Oh, the black goo. Sorry. This is an instant classic. I'm immediately going to go back and listen to the first 2 hours of this. I'm bummed I missed it. I fell asleep like right after James' show, and I woke up in a panic, like grabbed my phone and I'm like, oh no. And I immediately went to the page, saw the black goo, and I literally audibly said, oh no.
Oh, no, that's all right. You made it. I made it.
I just don't want to keep you like too long. I know.
No, we're okay. We're okay. No problems. I just got some. So I got some chicken to barbecue, but we got time for you. Go right ahead, sir. Okay. It's no big deal because it is Vegas and we can barbecue into the wee hours of the night because it's still 100 degrees out there. I'm not shitting you. Anyway,
there you go.
Go right ahead, sir.
Let's barbecue our brains for a minute first before you barbecue the chicken.
Amen. Here we go. Let's do it. What you got?
So as far as like the marrow aspect of it. Or like, all right, so black goo is one of my favorite conspiracy theories because it's like, or just esoteric ideas or whatever, or however you want to phrase it, because it's like unbelievably sci-fi, and it has half of like if you listen to like other black goo podcasts, like a lot of it is just referencing how prevalent it is in other forms of media and stuff. It's absolutely all over the place. So it's so fun for me to, when black goo pops up in like a show or movie and stuff, it's like, oh, well, it's like that Leo meme where he's pointing at the TV. That's me every time black goo pops up.
There it is. And so 3 articles, again, me sitting in the dentist chair, it was what spawned this. And I was drawn to that idea of this like slime that's in us, that I'm dry and I'm choking, not because of the air, because of the lack of moisture in my mouth. And it's like that. And I was like, wait, what is this? There's got to be something to this. So I looked into it, and no shit, 2 days ago, they just released this study on the evolution of that inside of our bodies. I was like, this can't, again, right? Synchromysticism. Is this a coincidence? And then a couple days ago, like I said, you linked me that thing, which they were making fun of the black goo. They're like, oh, the end of the world because of the black goo. I'm like, really? I guess we have to talk about it. Like when you sent it to me, I said to you specifically, we're not going to talk about that.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing it because they're making fun of it. But, here we are because it seems to be, again, in the zeitgeist. It's hard to shake this idea.
So much. I was watching the new animated show Little Demon the other day, and like slight spoilers for the show, but it's the Danny DeVito and Danny DeVito's daughter are like the playing Satan and the Antichrist, like, but it's like a parable for like divorced families or whatever. So Satan's playing like a dad who's trying to get involved in his daughter's life, but he's like teaching her like how to do possession and how to do weird like evil satanic stuff. Basically, it's this cartoon. It's unbelievably violent, unbelievably like occult. So one of the craziest things. But the second episode, they have this demon Asmodeus, who they call in the show at least the demon of possession, and he possesses this other demon. And when they show him for the first time, he like in the form of black goo, pours out of this other demon's like nose and eyes and mouth and pours onto the ground, and then like forms himself into this black goo blob, and then becomes like a creature or like a demon in his demon form or whatever. And then every other time you see him, he arrives through a black goo portal, and then spoiler alert, eventually in the episode, he like changes into just being this giant black goo monster or whatever. So those are like multiple different type that in just one episode are like multiple types of black goo that you see in the media, like or in pop culture or whatever. There's like the possessive black goo where in music videos or like horror stuff, when somebody's like leaking black goo from their face or like leaking black goo from their body, or like that's a sign that they're being possessed. There's something from another realm that's kind of reached in and like grabbed, like took control of your vessel. And the black goo is like the way media portrays that. And then also like the idea of an actual like black goo monster type thing that hits like Venom in Marvel with an actual sentient goo for like from another world or just demonic black goo or whatever. And then the black goo portal is cool because that's in like the Vampire Diaries mythology. Like in the Legacy show, they have like one of their huge, like at least for the first couple seasons, like one of their big bads is like black goo. But it's also black goo is like the portal he uses to get from hell to here. And then in the movie Constantine, when Lucifer comes to talk to Constantine, he like emerges from hell and covered in black goo. It's like the transition from one realm to the other, and which is pretty trippy. But as far as like the body stuff, I'm gonna go all over the map because I just want to make sure I'm not repeating too much stuff, but also like
you're good, man. Trust me, we kind of went pretty vanilla most. We got cosmic a little bit. We got like we didn't.
I'll go cosmic too.
We did, yeah. That's cosmic's fine. We didn't touch demons. We didn't do any of that. So you're you're in the pocket, bro. Go right ahead. Let's slaughter it.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to APOC. We were just talking about this the other day. So like one of the first times I had heard of like the idea of black goo, or it was like a shout out to Clyde or whatever. This was like way back in the day. And like one of my first calls I ever made was he had some guest on who was talking about the mysterious death of Max Spears, like this conspiracy researcher. And honestly, I don't even remember what he was researching. It wasn't black goo. It was I'm honestly not even sure. But when they found him, he was like leaking black goo from his body. So it was about that, and the show wasn't about black goo, but because they were leaking black goo, something triggered in my mind. I'm like, I've heard this term before. Like what? Like this before the podcast circuit started blowing up with black goo stuff. It's like, I'm like, I've heard this term before. So I search it, and I get this one video that ends up being like from the Harold Kotzvela documentary, who's kind of like known as like the black goo guy, who kind of like really popped it off in like the 2015 range or whatever. But the title of the video was Sentient Demonic or Sentient Demonic Living Liquid Crystal, something like that was like what they described black goo as. And I was like, and just my brain exploded, and I was just hooked on it from that moment. It's just like, what are you even talking? What does that even mean? You know? So it's like, geez Louise. And then like the way he describes it, the way like so a lot of the times you'll get into the black goo aspect with the nanobots and with the technology and with the self-replicating like nano goo and all that kind of stuff, which is cool, obviously. But the thing that Harold Kaus brought to it was the primordial black goo, which is like the Prometheus style black goo or the Venom style black goo, which is like the one that's the coolest to me. So as short as I possibly can, this is what he's saying, that every planet has like its own, again, kind of goes back to the Gaia idea with like the Earth body, but every celestial object out there has its own like marrow to the planet. And that's like this sentient goo that, and it kind of ties into the show we did months and months ago about kind of like the inner Earth primordial ooze type thing, where what if it's like a internal panspermia with things kind of like bubble up from the inside out, maybe. And it kind of ties into that idea where like the first thing of life, like the first sentience on the planet, like, or even the Gaia mind itself, comes from this black goo, comes from this, what he calls this bone marrow of the planet. And that's usually like good. But depending on where humanity goes, or where like the collective consciousness of then that planet goes, with where the life goes, that black goo can become corrupted or whatever. So, and some planets, again, this is like very sci-fi and very weird, and which is like kind of why I like it. But obviously, who knows what the hell is true and what's not true? But it's very maybe juice. So on some civilizations and some planets or whatever, the culture gets too technology driven, too AI driven, too inorganic, and then the black goo gets corrupted. Potentially, like that society messes with like nanobot type gray goo type stuff like we do, and they create their own kind of version of this natural primordial substance, and those things clash until the black goo takes over the planet, and then eventually that black goo pops out and like leaves the planet and starts to try to invade other planets. So essentially, it's like two black goos, like this one natural black goo that's kind of a reflection of the Gaia mind, battling this invasive alien Venom style black goo that's like this demonic AI type driven thing. And it's fucking crazy, honestly. And but it's anything. It is like oil, and that kind of ties into the mucus, like inside the body stuff, like the biome trying to escape the body. That's kind of the alien black goo escaping its Earth body or its planetary body, and then trying to go and attack other bodies, like a virus type model. But also, like he said, it's oil is black goo under this paradigm, or it's like petroleum and like fossil fuels are a byproduct of this natural marrow and stuff. And it's like all kinds of different stories where the runoff from when they like render oil down for fuel they just like store it in these giant black goo piles basically all over the world. And there's just countless stories of these black goo piles, quote unquote, sliding and just killing so many people. It happens like all the time. It's the idea being, I don't know. So there's just so much random stuff. Like this guy's been talking about for a long time.
Exactly. Yeah, no, just a couple of real quick things. Before I do that, shout out to Larry in the chat and Algorithm. I see you guys. What's up? So Jennifer called in. So we were talking about the mucins in the body, because I said this whole idea started in a dentist chair today. Like we were talking last night. As you know, I was in it didn't turn out great because I waited a lot longer. There was a mistake, and anyway, so I was there just like miserable with no sleep and like God. Yeah. And then but they were blowing the air in my mouth, and that, like I said, that my mouth dry was like causing me to choke. Yeah. And I was thinking in terms of that goo. I'm like, wait, so we have goo inside of us that it sort of regulates the body, the body mechanism. Yeah. And Jennifer called she called a couple times tonight, actually. Fantastic as always. And the first call, she said, well, what if sort of that idea of, like you said, that the goo gets tainted, right? What if the goo is us, and the goo is that sort of slime that, like snails and the rest of this? We all have it. Every advanced organism on Earth has this. But she mentioned microplastics as sort of maybe this corrupting substance of that exact thing that turns it into God knows what, right? Like you have this alchemical mix of. Anyway, I thought it was fascinating to what you said when you said corrupting the goo. I thought about what she said. Anyway, I know you missed it.
No, it's cool. No, it fits. It fits. Yeah.
It fits, right?
It's like the idea that there's this kind of primordial substance, this primordial essence that like might be, and I think kind of is more than just the goo. Like, so on this, like this is like my first ever what I consider to be like my first good call on a radio show was this black goo call I ever made, and like during the call, I like made the connection to animism and the idea, because like I think Gordon White had just kind of explained it to me I just kind of heard it for the first time at the time, and the way that it was explained is what we're seeing in the physical world. Like if we're looking at a tree, we're seeing just the part of the tree that dips into this physical realm. But what the tree could really be is this much, much more ancient thing that exists like in spaces that we can't really see, but just the part of it, that the tip of the iceberg that we can see is this tree that from our perspective is just sitting there. And it's like not really that sentient from our vantage point. Whereas the goo is kind of sentient from our vantage point. And like from like higher vantage points, it might be this kind of nexus substance that like connects all kinds of like other realms together, which is like kind of how it's depicted in a lot of stuff. It's like this residue from traversing one realm to the other, or it's this vessel for something to influence this realm to the next, or literally like a black goo portal or whatever. So I'm losing my train of thought. I'm trying to bring back to the mucus idea, but
it's fine. You don't have to do the mucus at all. It just we kind of and there's a lot of really weirdness too. Like you may not have heard of this. There's something called the La Mancha Negra. Have you heard of this?
Is this that the blackest substance in the world thing?
No, check this out. So it's a mysterious black substance that is oozed from roads in Caracas, Venezuela, first appearing in 1986.
Yeah.
Since the appearance of La Mancha Negra, it has caused multiple car accidents and claimed many lives. Determining the cause of the substance has proved difficult, and there are still no definitive explanations. Almost 2 decades of study and millions of dollars to identify this thing. Anyway, just like I was joking.
That's
I was joking when Jimmy. Go good. Perfect.
Go. Sorry. Go.
No, you're good. Go. I already said the joke. It's buried and burned. It's less funny the second time. Go ahead.
so things like that. Like I have heard that story. And like things like that are like that's like what most of this black goo thing is. It's trying to figure out what is this mysterious substance that pops up across so many forms of media and also so many real world weird events. And like a lot of times, actual oil spills are like lumped into this like black goo harvesting type thing, or like they're I don't know, it gets tied into the elite all the time. Like they're supposed to be these like massive reservoirs of black goo in like Paraguay on like land owned by Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, in the Bush family, and there's all kinds of stuff that like the Nazis were shipping black goo from Germany like to Argentina, over and vice versa, like back and forth, and that there was like all these lost ships in the Atlantic that they're just like always finding like black goo drums that like make people sick in the middle of the ocean. Like the Deepwater Horizon incident is blamed on like black goo, and people who would like get around this oil substance to try to clean it up will get like suspiciously, weirdly, like paranormally type sick, beyond just exposing yourself to like toxic oil or whatever. The Falkland Island conflict is supposed to be around this, like based around the trying to get to these like black goo pits, these black goo where the black harvest black goo marrow,
which we never
thing.
got to. Actually, I meant to get to that tonight. We never got to. Crystal Shaman called in earlier and was talking a little bit about it, and I missed the reference, but I pulled it up. It's in the links. If you guys want to check it out, links in the description. The Falklands War. Like go check it out. Yeah. There's some conspiracy where they say that they found this black oil, black ooze, black goo, whatever it was there, and they've been trying to get rid of it since, and they can't. It like keeps replicating. You can't burn it. You can't destroy it. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
You can't get rid of this stuff. Exactly. Yeah. So and just so again to I'm going to try to wrap it up with these like three quick points here. So with the idea of corrupting it, that's very important. Like it's under this one theory, it's this natural kind of primordial ooze, this bone marrow of the planet that can corrode or be corrupted by it provides like the mind for the planet, but then kind of like it's like a symbiotic relationship with like the life that pops up on the planet, and if that life goes in this crazy direction and creates these like weird AI abominations or kind of crazy technology, or just becomes a society that just like spirals out of control, then the goo will like mirror that and just do the same thing. Or like instances where the goo is made by a civilization that becomes too technology driven, and they create this like, which is the Prometheus story, where the black goo, it's like the lifeblood of the engineers, these these god figures in the alien mythology who are able to see life on other planets, or the engineer, or some other name I'm forgetting, and the engineers try to like replicate that. But for some reason, the natural process of creating life, like what the natural black goo, this like blood of their gods, they consider it, they can't figure out how it works. They can't replicate it. They can't build it. When they try to do it, like they end up finding the blood of the deacon, they call it, which is their kind of like Jesus figure, and they use his blood as like the last vested, like the last residue of this primordial black goo to like try to. That's how they pollinate Earth. That's like the panspermia idea, is using this natural primordial ooze, black goo, alien blood, planet blood, whatever it is, to populate the planet. But when the process is forgotten, or they get too far away from the natural equilibrium or whatever, they forget how to do it. They can't do it anymore. And then that's when they create the evil black goo, and the creations become the xenomorphs. Like they create this corrupt version of it, and it just becomes this parasitic entity that tries to dominate the whole universe. And that's essentially what the Harold Kutzfeller theory is of it. But I did hear the last Jennifer call and the last James call, so just try to tie those together real quick.
It's okay, man.
I was
take a breath. Take a breath. Hey, let's find our flow state. Just take your time, think it through, and go. It's okay. Don't worry about me. We're good, brother. We're good. Thank you.
So I was like, as I'm trying to fall asleep, I was like leaving like random shows on. And the other day I left on Spider Woman from like the 70s or early 80s or whatever. And every episode of the show is like weirdly so esoteric, and like it's pretty, like it's poorly animated, but it's like pretty fun. And like the writers were having a ball. And like one of the episodes, it was this alien invasion of this guy called Gravitron, who was just the black hole god, like this black hole ruler from this black hole realm. And his ship had this pit of what he called like black hole energy, but it was this black goo. There's this roiling black goo, and he would pour it all over the planet to try to like corrupt the humanity, to start like mining the planet for him, but basically to possess the entire planet. But they kept referring to it as like black hole energy, which gets me thinking of like the cosmic idea of it, of like where does this come from, like in other than just this primordial matter of the planet, could there be a more cosmic like connection to it? Like, could it be some type of derivative of dark energy or dark matter and that kind of stuff? And that gets into the Venom mythology in like Marvel Comics proper, where we've talked about it before, but they have Null, like Knull, Null of the Void, which is like a few year old creation, but it's like massive in the comics now, and I think just got introduced in Thor, if I'm not mistaken. That's tied in with the whole God, Gore the God Butcher thing you did a show about a few months ago too. But he's this primordial deity that like essentially took dark matter, dark energy, and like the essence of it, basically informed it into this like black goo. They call it the Clintars, and this like sentient matter that's like took this like formlessness, took this black energy, like the cosmic nothingness, and like mutated it, or like made it physical or something, and created the first symbiote, just the Clintars, or just this like ooze, this physical substance that was once dark energy. And then that becomes the Venom mythology is basically the alien mythology of this invading parasitic black ooze, basically. But its like basis was dark energy, which I found interesting. And then to James's point, with the it got me thinking about Terrence McKenna, or Dennis McKenna, Terrence's brother, talks about like him and Terrence's biggest like psychedelic trip, or one of their biggest mushroom trips, and that it took too much, which I don't even know how much that is for them. But it like Terrence thought it like broke his brain, and that he thought he like broke reality or something like that. So he experienced reality like what he thought cracking around him, and then this like weird gooey, like we call like iridescent metallic liquid poured in from what he perceived to be some other physical plane, or like the other higher dimension or whatever. And then it got him all down this rabbit hole, and there's all kinds of theories that kind of stem from it. Of we can't see it; it's not in our reality. But the things the substance that forms everything is this like weird iridescent goo from another dimension, and that's kind of like what's being molded by the human consciousness. If we say that we render reality, it's almost like we're playing with this black goo Play-Doh on another dimension, molding what we see in front of us. I don't know, Mike. I'm sorry. Am I off the rails?
No, of course not.
You fucking kidding me. Absolute banger from what I heard.
Hey, this is Troubled Minds, man. We're never off the rails. We start the show off the rails. Everybody else is hop into like the carnival ride. Keep your hands and your feet inside the vehicle. Fuck that.
Yeah.
We're just woo. And we can skip off the rails instantly and like go skittering toward the cliff. We're totally fine.
Yeah.
We're totally fine. It's all good.
But no, I'm gonna immediately go crank this back and listen from the beginning. But
yeah, right on.
Black goo. Wireless shit.
And it keeps coming up. It keeps resurfacing into the zeitgeist. And like I said, like, hey, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to rip you off. The synchro mystic in me starts to say that at some point we can't ignore this, right? It's like I was like, I told you like a week ago, like 4 or 5 days ago, I was like, nah, we ain't doing that shit. And here we are doing it because it just kind of like keeps bubbling up, sort of in the scientific world with ideas, but then also in the esoteric world and the zeitgeist of shit, maybe this is something.
It's so, for sure. I mean, it's so prevalent that like it was in Dune that they randomly put it in Dune. The like Baron Harkonnen or whatever was just he was in this like his regeneration chamber or whatever.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And they just made it black goo. They just made it a big tar pit, this big black goo pit. So I listen to a bunch of like non-conspiracy, maybe juice, just regular like pop culture podcasts, just from people who have no familiarity to anything what we're talking about at all. And they're like, oh yeah, that scene with the black goo was awesome. And it's like, oh yeah, like give me a cool black goo scene and stuff. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, so the idea of black goo, the concept of black goo, or just the idea that there is something called black goo has permeated. It's so prevalent. It's in so much media that it's reached the mainstream. That is a regular moviegoer who's just into sci-fi, like, knows black goo, that there's an idea concept called black goo, knows it enough to be like, oh hell yeah, a black goo scene. And it's just like, whoa, because 7 years ago I had no clue what it was, like
exactly. And
I still don't know, and I still don't know what it is. Like we gave 100 theories the last half an hour, and I still don't know what the hell it is. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. We're gonna keep asking those questions and figure it out. Yeah, I don't know about figure it out, but at least let's say throw some more theories against the wall and see what sticks. Keep asking. 100%. Sure. You're the best, bro. Thanks for dipping in here on short sleep or whatever you got going on, and like rubbing the Sandman out of your eyes and like spitting some fire on Troubled Minds.
Yeah. That's exactly how it was.
Right on.
Thank you, dude.
I appreciate it very much. Derek, a good friend of mine, good friend of the show, The Night Stalker. You guys know him as. Links in the description down below. He's got a YouTube channel. Let's give him a follow. Let's inspire him to make some more content. As we know, he's a brilliant dude, very good guy, and like I said, very good friend of mine. So thanks for popping in. I don't know. I don't have answers here. As you know, I don't know. This is one of those things where it is interesting because if this is sort of the zeitgeist sort of situation, like I said, the Derek Synchro Mystic in me is like, well, trying to ignore this, it's hard to ignore it because it kind of bubbles up. And that's my job, by the way, as doing this, is not necessarily. So number one, it's to shake the cage of reality and make us consider, other options. That's all. Not options of like revolution. Stop. Right. Let's be peaceful and good to each other. Other options of the reality we live in may be different than what we perceive it to be in many different ways. Okay, that's number one. That's my first job, is to kind of just sort of shake the cage of reality and ask why. right? Why we're here and things like that, right? But then the second thing is, I'm becoming an expert of the news cycle. I'm becoming a propaganda meister. I'm becoming terrible Mike the Terrible of UFO Twitter, right? I see you guys out there. How you don't give a shit, and guess what? Neither do I. It's fine. It's fine. This is the thing, right? Like, you be good to people, they'll be good to you. That's it. Let's watch the zeitgeist. Let's see what happens in the news cycles. Let's see what propaganda they're telling us. And let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Because if we're not talking about propaganda, nobody is. And there we go. Let's roll it. Let's GTFO. MJ in Virginia, you're on Troubled Minds if you got something for us. Let's keep this short because we're way over time. You got like 2 minutes if you got something for us. He's like, hey, I can hear the show on Discord because I moved you into on air. MJ in Virginia. What's up, brother? Oh, you don't want to be there? That's cool. That's cool. I moved you in because you jumped in the caller queue. So, okay, no problem. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the music, get the GTFO. I'm going to go cook the chicken, and we'll see you guys in a little bit if you're going to hang out on the Discord. But here's the thing. I don't know. You know me, right? I just don't have the answers. And by the way, isn't it freeing when you can sort of just lock yourself into a space of, I'll never know all the answers, right? Like the whole world seems to make us believe that all the answers are attainable. And I think it's horseshit. I just do. So, hey, me, I accept fully. I will never know all the answers of the universe. Period. Right? It's freeing. I don't have to like get on the internet and argue with some asshole that's like trying to tell me this, that, the other thing, or I don't care. I don't care. You know why? Because if your reality is so bitter, you have to argue with strangers on the internet. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. That's just the way I see it. Hey, the truth is weird. And the truth, I think, like I said before, the superposition of truth is what it's all about. And of course, that means, depending on who you are, the truth will be different. And how you perceive that prism of reality. All right, let's get GTFO. Here's how this goes. If you love the show, spread the word, help us. The like button, all the shit. Smash the shares and all the things and do all the things and tell people there's a conversation going on. That's not ridiculous. Hey, why are you smashing your mic, Mike?
No, I've never had this work before.
What are you talking about? I moved you into the on air. That's why. It's working now because this is a locked off thing. You got something to add?
No, actually, I kind of missed half the show.
Okay, that's fine. We'll catch up with you later. That's MJ in Virginia, good friend of mine. We're wrapping it up. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. So yeah, I'm gonna try and find a way to get the Discord to work to pipe the show into one of the channels. So if you guys want to listen to it in there, you can. I don't have that technology just yet. Only in the on air. We'll figure it out, okay? I'm still working on it. But here's the thing. If you want to help the show, there are a number of ways. Number one, in this order, if it's all the same to you and you want to spend a little bit of scratch to help Troubled Minds, Rockfin is the best value and the best thing it pays in crypto, right? They don't take a cut of anything. I get all of it if you sign up, right? Number two, Patreon. Number three, Twitch. You can sub up on Twitch with an Amazon Prime account. You've already paid for it. You just got to jump through a couple of hoops. If you need help with that, I can help you with that. After that, troubledfans.com. Yes, it is a play on onlyfans.com, but in this case, it's Troubled Fans. And you can find hats, you can find shirts, you can find other gear over there and new stuff going up all the time. And there you go. If you don't want to spend money and you want to help the show, I get it. Or you don't have money to spend, I get it. There are a number of ways you can help. Spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word. Tell somebody out there that there's a conversation happening that's apolitical, that we don't give a shit about who's running for president because it's selected, not elected. At least I do. I think it's bullshit anymore. You can't make me believe that these kabuki theater bullshit lefty-righty politics are real. No thanks. I'm not into it anymore. I may have been at one time, but I'm not. The other way is to listen to the podcast feed. Listen to the podcast feed. Over 480 episodes up there. Over 385,000 downloads on the podcast feed. Hey, we've been doing a thing. It's been happening for a little while. And it's monetized, limited commercial interruption. And if you listen to the podcast feed on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, it will help the show. And as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure. Be strong. Be true. That one's for James. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.